This afternoon's tactical enhancement is punchy. This afternoon we're playing Victory at Sea with a lovely watery backdrop over the ocean there that should make even Drachenfell proud. And we're playing 1500 points nominally, and we've got domination for the UK, so they have to occupy lots of squares. And then we've got fighting withdrawal for the Italians, who are therefore down by 150 points, but have still managed to bring two fully fledged very modern battleships. So their objective is to do more points worth of damage to me than I do to him, and to get at least 3 ships off the table. Whereas I can ignore how many points damage I've taken, I think, and just occupy 3 squares or 3/4 of the table for a major victory, or 2/4 of the table and for a minor victory. This is uncontested, so potentially we could both get major victories at the same time. We'll see how it goes, but firstly, Emilio, talk us through what you've got.
Yeah, okay. So at the front here we've got the Zara class cruiser, which is 150 points, and I've added now the Star Shell. Just a question for you, Chris. Do your torpedoes hit the side? So they're
Yes.
having this here. So it's an extra 5 points, and I've upgraded the Star Shell.
Okay.
The destroyers, there's 3 destroyers there. These are called the Navigatori class destroyers. 35 points each, and I have, in this particular one, it's reduced the torpedoes that increase the AA. Now the advantage with increasing the AA is each one costs minus 5 points, so they get cheaper.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I've actually saved 15 points there.
Okie dokie.
But I've increased the AA. The Littorio class battleships are 550 points each, so these are the 2 big boys that are here.
So 1100 out of your 1350 points are battleships.
Yeah, and the one that's at the front here is the one that's actually had the upgrade, and that allows me to increase my AA battery and also gives me radar, and that's the added benefit for that one. I also have -2 aircraft on both ships, which gives me back 10 points across the 2, -5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So saving a little bit of points. So basically I saved 25 points, and then I put those 25 points into the upgrade here. It was 60 points for the upgrade, so that was a big upgrade. But that gives me 1,350.
Just as well we forgot to do the reconnaissance rolls, because
you would have won the skies.
Yeah, we've had less. Alright, well, against that we have a King George V battleship, 600 odd points. Basically I've got a starter fleet is what it comes down to. I've got the a number of fairly light cruisers, but they do have torpedoes on them. They don't have much else. I've got a fleet carrier which I've added to it, and we have the Eagle light carrier, which, to be honest with you, is more of a light gunboat than anything else at this point, because I figure I'd do roughly 50-50 Seafires and very swordfish bombers. But then Emilio doesn't have any air, so the Seafires are largely useless. So I've got these 4 plus another 7 fairy swordfish that I can cough up out of the carriers. And of course the carriers can occupy table quarters as well, just to make life complicated for Emilio.
And they can drop 1 torpedo, but if it hits, it's devastating.
That's right. Yeah, one shot torpedo bombers, but potentially will do a lot of carnage. So on that note, let's roll a dice and see who gets turn 1. I've got a 4 and an 8. So first initiative goes to the Italians. Turn 1 went to the Italians. Look at that, they've just turned to face. They're heading our way. I've kept the carriers together in groups so that they can mutually support. And that's probably 2/4 occupied already. And then this battle group's charging up the guts, going for these guys. Now, we did some long range fire. That thing knocked 2 points off of the the Belfast. It's an Edinburgh class cruiser. And in reply, Duke of York knocked 1 point off the battleship. Interesting thing being, my ships were in close range, because close range is 34 inches for the bloody Italians, whereas close range is 29 inches for the King George. So I was just in the 29 to 30 inch bracket, so I was shooting at -1 to hit.
Yeah, long range and
exactly
extreme range.
Yeah, so that was another item of evidence of just how nasty the Italian guns can be. And that's it. Let's roll for initiative for turn 2. I've got an 8, I think. Either way, Emilio's got initiative again. So we'll check in at the end of turn 2. End of turn 2, and the Italian Navy had the initiative, but I've got so many more ships, most of which are cheap ass, that I'm managing to move these guys last, which gives me some good benefits in using things like islands to shield my battleship from the concentrated fire of both enemy battleships at once. As a result, they've been ganging up on the cruisers. So the Edinburgh class here, it's not quite crippled, but it's only a few points off being crippled, whereas the other ship here, the Neptune class, or HMS Neptune, is hanging on 1 point. Now, he did get some criticals. He smashed the rudder, so it's straight forward. He's not going anywhere. And I think I've got it pointing the wrong direction. Actually, I might have to remedy that in a sec. Yeah, it's missing the turrets from the back. It's not got many torpedoes left operational, so on and so forth. It's not in a good way. It's on 1 point. We mustered up some flights, so that one is empty of flights except for the Spitfires. This one still has another 4, I think, aircraft that can cough up. And we've amassed a flight over here that we may tackle one of these bad boys with shortly. We've got to pick our moment for that. And of course we dumped a whole lot of fire on this destroyer, including the aft turret of the battleship, so it was close enough that I could hit it on 6s, and I belted the shit out of it. It's gone. And that one there took a whopping 10 points, but the criticals failed to confirm. So he's hurting and thinking about his life prospects, but he's still in the game. And on that note, let's roll some dice for turn 3.
5.
8.
Yay.
Alright, I get the initiative. That's good. My battleship will have itself some fun before I probably lose at least a cruiser. End of turn 3, and we made use of our initiative. I started peeling unnecessary ships off of carrier protection for both carrier groups. These guys continued on their merry way, although this guy's on 1 hit point from last turn. And we started with a nice big volley from this guy to this guy, and took a decent number of points off, maybe 10 or so, something like that. And we got a couple of cripples on his weapon system, so that was useful. He walloped back, took a chunk of points off, but no criticals to speak of on the big boy.
I can try
maybe a little bit
on him though.
You can, yes.
Yeah.
Now this fella walloped this guy and brought him down to, I think, 2 hull points. He's not looking too flash. I haven't even bothered to see what the criticals are. I don't think he's going to be around that long. But before he died, he actually pumped out a bunch of rounds at close range with fast-track weapons, took a couple of points off that bloke, and crippled that destroyer. So that was useful. And somewhere in the fray, in all the to and fro, I actually dumped 6 flights onto the cruiser. 1 flight got shot down, and 2 torpedoes hit out of the 5 flights that got through. And of those 2, they just rolled up a fucking storm. It was spectacular. There's 5s and 6s all over the shop. Absolutely disgusting. So that's nice. They're running low on ships, so they've got to think about how they're going to win this battle. I still have a few more flights to pull out, but obviously that one's expended, so I now have to muster up another bunch to go after a bigger ship. In the meantime, I'm expecting to lose a couple of cruisers. So on that note, let's do initiative.
Well, let me do a repair. On critical
Oh,
repair.
yep.
Yes.
Hey, you got one. Got two.
So, what should I take it off? -2 weapons, -2 light guns, -2 AA, probably off the weapons.
Yeah, definitely take it off the weapons.
Yeah, so that's now -1.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, now, actually, there are a couple of things I forgot to do. We'll tidy that up in a minute, but let's do initiative. 10,
Oh my
10, 10,
God.
10, 10. What do you got for me in?
3.
You barely even rolled that thing.
Do you want to roll again? Or?
No, I want to keep the 10. Yeah, thanks. Alright, on that note, we'll check in at the end of turn 4. End of turn 4. And it was an interesting one. My battleship, King George, took some chunks off of that guy. Did a bit of critical, although he went on to repair most of it. I've started peeling off my escorts from the carrier groups. Then I discovered this guy can't actually hurt the big battleships much at all. Now the Edinburgh went down fighting, and it took out
Destroyers.
one destroyer outright and damaged another, and then the battleship took out the last destroyer with some leftover light guns after it put the heavies on that thing. So and the Edinburgh then got whacked. It only had 1 or 2 hull points left. But geez, it made a good accounting of itself while it was there. I mean, points-wise, it didn't take its own points, but those destroyers with their torpedoes are an absolute menace.
I didn't get to use my torpedoes.
That's right. That's right. So we took out all 3 of the 35-point destroyers with no torpedoes to worry about.
Can you just mention to the viewers, you've got fast-track guns.
That's right.
And this is what made the difference for these cruisers.
See, I'm not as familiar with the British as I am with the Japanese and the Americans. And the British cruisers have always got me as these strange sort of all-rounders that aren't quite good at anything, but they can do lots of stuff. But now I've discovered that fast-track feature just makes them an absolute menace to destroyers.
Yeah.
So even though I don't think that cruisers are hugely the best thing in the game anyway, the British ones now have a function that I can respect. But the big news, of course, is the King George, who was doing, he's alright. He's getting ganged up on by 2 battleships, so his days were numbered unless I managed to get some more torpedoes on those big boys. But no, Emilio rolled up a flying fuck ton of dice. Only 1 critical, but that critical rolled a 10 and then a 6, and the whole damn thing went kablooey. Wow. That was a spectacular way down, and it's a shame because he had some fight left in him, that fella. But now there's like 2 or 3 survivors wondering what the fuck happened to everybody else. Yeah, that was big.
I've also lost my major objective, which was to annihilate Chris and retreat with 3 ships, because now physically I've only got 2 ships left.
Yep.
But I could still get a minor victory from getting the majority of damage points.
Yeah, it's most points because
you just lost 600 points from your battleship.
That's right. So I've got 1 crippled cruiser who'll just clean up with some spare dice at some point. I've got a light cruiser who'll probably have to fuck off because he can't do anything useful. Maybe act as a destroyer to do smoke screens. And then the only other serious damage I can do is from several flights that I've got left and some destroyer torpedo runs. That's not fantastic. But you know what? No guts, no glory. We're going to have at it. Initiative for turn 5. 7 versus 1. Alright, brilliant. Well, at least I get the initiative this turn. We'll see what we can do with it. Alright, end of turn 5, I think it was. Something like that. Alright, so we've completed our change in configuration. We've moved that carrier there. Next turn he can move away with smoke behind him. And this destroyer is heading off to do a run. Over here he's released the last of his planes. So he's manoeuvred to blow smoke out the back end to make it much harder for these guys to hit him. These guys are flying up to try and land, rearm, all that sort of thing. But we're going to run out of turns before we get a chance to do that.
You can only land 2 planes at a time, is that right?
1 to 2. Same as launching. So, and then of course, you can launch on the next turn, that's fine, but then they've got to muster up and then they've got to go off.
Yeah, it's 1 to 2.
We've only got a few turns left, so It's not going to happen. I could take them off. And we realised at the start of the turn or in the last turn or something that these are the only planes that I've got left without rearming, bearing in mind that one's been destroyed. So this destroyer is coming back to have a go.
I'm going to do a repair.
Yep, of course. No.
Oh, 6 that roll back to a 4.
Now, this ship that had only one hull point left has now got no hull points. And I had a cruiser who, for some reason, I thought I'd chance it. I'd go barreling on in and see if I could get in close and drop some torpedoes. But I didn't take into account the fact that he doesn't have any of the defences of a destroyer, and it would have been smarter to have fucked off over there blowing smoke at your back end. But did I think of that? No. So that was 90 points thrown away for no good reason.
He was sitting duck because I hit him at short range with big guns.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. On the plus side, over here, we drove this thing up side on. We got a decent number of dice out, decent spread of damage for the torpedoes, and then failed to get any criticals. That was obscene. And that was quite a lot of damage dice I pumped out as well.
So you're going to have to rely on your bombers to roll really good dice.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more destroyer action to go, but it was underwhelming, shall we say. Anyway, let's go into turn 6. We'll get some initiative dice down first. 5, 10. Oh, now he gets the initiative. Now he's fucking dangerous. Alright, we'll check in at the end of that. End of turn, I don't know, 5 or 6 thereabouts. Okay, so first thing we did was keep moving our carriers away with protection, trying to get some smoke in place, but I moved the carriers first, which meant that he actually could avoid the smoke, and he dumped some rounds onto this fella. Enough to hurt, but not enough to do anything serious. This guy ran away, blasting smoke. This guy came screaming on in, took a lot of light gun damage. He's not going to be around next turn. He's only got 2 hull points left. Still had a couple of torpedoes to hock out, 1 hit. But I rolled shit that time, unfortunately. No criticals. No 5s or 6s. Meanwhile, this lot came barreling in and just did take quite a meaty chunk off of it. And we did get 1 critical through with the torpedoes, which is a bit woeful actually. Should have been a bit more than that. And then I rolled a 1 on the critical, so if I'd rolled a 6 it would have been blowing all over the place, but no, I rolled a 1. So even though we hurt it, it wasn't catastrophic. In return, that thing dumped main arm rounds at a destroyer, needing 6s, and actually managed to get a couple of shots on it, so that was the end of a destroyer. Turns out 14-inch rounds do quite a bit to little ships. Then we've got this situation here. I actually managed to recover 2 planes. Now, in theory, I could get them up and get them in an attack run, but we're going to run out of time before any serious second attack run goes.
He's got no AA left.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did drop a fair bit of critical on this, the guy.
I'm going to try and do a repair.
Yeah. He gets something back.
Yeah.
But, yeah, his AA was at 0, because
crew at 0 now.
I kept hitting his weapons. Yeah, and he's got his crew down to 0 like 2 or 3 times now. Yeah. So we thought we'd just do one last turn just to see what happens, and we'll check in after that. Right, we played out the last few turns very quickly. We figured that this carrier's managed to recover some more flights. We got 2 flights up, and they went in on a attack run over here on the very last shot of the very last turn. Couple of sporadic shots at this thing at extreme range. Well, this battleship chased down the other carrier. Meanwhile, it doesn't take much to manoeuvre if you manoeuvre second to avoid this fella. And we've got a destroyer hiding over there. Now, Emilio did consider going after this guy with both battleships, but what that would have meant was, yeah, okay, he would have sunk that ship, but he was already ahead on points. And he would only have been contesting one of the quarters, whereas I would have got a minor victory for the British by contesting 2. But it was more entertaining to go this way and brave the torpedo bombers, of which I managed to recover and relaunch 2. They came in, they did their run, 1 hit, did a fair stonking amount of damage, but didn't manage to convert any of it into bloody criticals. So that ship is leading a blessed life. It has dodged so many fucking torpedo criticals.
Yeah.
And even the ones that
had
went,
60 hull points.
even the criticals that I did roll up, rolled very low. So damn is all I can say. So we're going to chalk this one up as a Italian victory. It's a minor victory. They didn't get their principal objective, as in they didn't get any ships off. Really, that was a complete whiff on the primary objective.
Yeah, but it would have changed the game because I would have had to have kept my 3 destroyers as security off to get a minimum of 3 ships off.
Yep.
But I wanted the destroyers to put pressure on you and make the game more interesting.
Well, it certainly did make the game more interesting because it meant I was doing a lot of shooting at destroyers for quite a while there because I didn't want them to get in with the torps. And you know what? I got in with 2 destroyers with torpedoes, and I got in a grand total of 13 flights got bombing runs in.
But they just didn't.
But well, the ones that went up against the cruiser just did an absolutely staggering amount of dice. It's like I used up all my good luck in that one volley. But against the battleships, I couldn't seem to get a break with the torpedoes. Not for lack of trying. But the fairy swordfish, they're not great, to be honest. But
in numbers they are.
In sufficient numbers. These are one of those things where I paid extra points to have a few more up in the air in the first place, and that paid off in taking out the cruiser. And they're only 10 points a flight. Whereas the really good stuff is 20 to 25 points a flight. That's a much bigger investment up front. So I guess if you look at it from that point of view, and because I wasn't getting the shit shot out of me by the Italian fighters, they turn out to be a useful tool in the toolbox. So the loss of the King George, a turn or two ahead of his time,
Turning point.
That was a massive turning point in the game.
Yeah.
And look, we had good luck and bad luck on both sides. I mean, Emilio did an awful lots of shooting and missing at various points in the game. So
I was hunting your destroyers in the end.
Yep. And it took him a long time to finish off some cruisers that didn't need a lot more hits. So I think I can't complain about the dice. At the end of the day, I think what it comes down to is King George going bye-bye with a big catastrophic kaboom.
Yeah, he would have been good for at least another 3 turns of a whole lot of battle dice.
Yeah, I think 3 turns later he would have been crippled and burning down to the waterline.
But he would have taken out a minimum of one of my 2 battleships. Minimum.
Yeah, or crippled it enough that the torpedoes would have finished the job. And that would have swung the points, and it would have been, God knows actually, it would have been razor sharp, that one. You could have still won actually, but who knows which way it would have gone in the end.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind, I decided not to have an aircraft carrier or planes because I wanted a fast-moving fleet, so I could either get 3 off the table or I could hunt your ships down to maximise my point damage. And that's the strategy was maximise, hunt and maximise damage. Long-range Italian ships was a win for the game. I think that to sum it up, long-range shooting was my huge advantage.
Yeah, and look, I have to say, it's a tough mission that you got, because trying to get half your fleet off and still do more damage to the other guy than they do to you. I mean, how the fuck do you do that?
Yeah. And I also had 150 points less.
Yeah, exactly. If the other guy's got a low priority mission, you might get away with it, but against 150 extra points, that's a tough ask. So I think you did a lot of things right this game, I have to say. It was well played. So, what did we learn?
I think the islands didn't really affect us much in this game.
Yeah, they blocked line of sight a couple of times when it was convenient, but that's about it.
That's about it. I think smoke came in handy for you in the later part of the game. I think I actually really wanted to take out, my plan was to take out one of his aircraft carriers, but because you had destroyers and cruisers around them dropping smoke later in the game, that saved them from a whole range of heavy fire.
Yeah.
And that saved your aircraft carriers. But you gambled. You had 50% fighters, 50% bombers. The fighters did nothing in this game because I didn't employ fighters.
Yep.
So you had to rely on your bombers. And the other thing is your bombers are they only fly half distance.
Yeah, they're pretty slow. It did take quite a while to get them in. I mean, look, every bomber that I launched had a shot. Who knows? Because of the way that the dice rolled, I don't think it would have made a huge difference to the outcome if I got in there sooner. But if they'd been faster, maybe I could have recovered some sooner. Yeah.
And the other thing to keep in mind, you took out all of the anti-aircraft guns on my non-upgraded battleship. So you picked on the weaker battleship, but it also meant that if the game continued, you would have been fighting my full greater strength battleship with the upgrades, with the extra anti-aircraft fire. So
well, that's right. I mean, look, you can imagine two scenarios here, right? Scenario one is your capital ships go chasing after the carriers, and sooner or later they'll capture the slow one. But in the meantime, I'm recovering flights, sending them up, and having more and more goes at you. Scenario two, the Italians go, you know what? We've done what we're here to do. Let's recover our capital ships because we're falling back anyway.
I decided not to send 3 ships off. If I did send them off, it would have been 3 destroyers, which means that's 3 destroyers that would not have been in this game. I could have soaked up the firepower with my battleships. I was confident about that. But as it turns out, once Chris's battleship was down, I was hunting in this game. I was the hunter.
Yes.
And I no longer was concerned about what directions to take. Just catch his ships, get into short or point blank range, and get the maximum amount of dice on Chris. And I wanted fun in this game, so I decided to commit my destroyers.
And all of these smoke markers is a sunken ship. There's quite a bit missing in there in the fleet. So you lost 4 ships, but they were cruiser and destroyers. I lost quite a lot. I lost 5. 2 destroyers and 3 cruisers. No, 6 because I lost the battleship as well.
I lost 3 destroyers and a cruiser.
Yeah.
And Chris did well to take out the cruiser because it hadn't dropped its torpedoes. It really didn't play a big part in the game. The other thing was, why didn't you use your aeroplane bombers to target a battleship en masse, Chris? Why did you pick on a weaker cruiser?
Firstly, it was there. And secondly, I was counting on the King George sticking around for a couple more turns. That's what it comes down to.
Just take one more ship out of the game.
And look, I thought I had enough with the destroyers as well to finish off 1 battleship. And statistically, I probably should have, but those dice are the ones that whiffed.
And isn't it funny? I rolled, I think, 4 criticals, 5 criticals, 2 got through, so I whiffed. And then the 1 critical I did get through, I roll.
Yeah. That's true.
Make it, penetrate and to destroy a battleship.
I mean, we've all had those days. I mean, there was that time where the Italian battleship blew up in the first turn, and we gave it a couple of chances to not blow up, and it still managed to.
Flop again.
Oh my God Almighty, that was spectacular.
But my Italian battleship wasn't as good as your British battleship today.
Yeah, it's only 10% difference. But yeah, that British. Look, here's the thing, right? The British battleship's quite good. It's got an extra big tube. That counts. It's got plenty of armour, plenty of hull.
14-inch guns
but it's,
against 15-inch guns, but you've got more guns. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got 1 extra gun. Yeah. They do the same damage.
Yeah.
But the British ones' guns are not as good. They don't have the range. Right. That was a real problem in the opening couple of turns until we closed, so we're both within in close range. And it only goes 5 inches. It's the British fleet is a fucking weird fleet, I have to say. It doesn't quite do what you think that it should do given Rule Britannia, but then it comes up with strange quirks here and there which are interesting. Certainly not my favourite fleet, but definitely one of the more interesting ones. Well, congratulations, good win. That was fun. On that note, I think thanks for watching. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, and so on. Drop us a comment. Correct anything weird that we look like we may have done horribly wrong. And time to call it a day.